Holy Gospel according to Luke.
Glory to you, Lord Christ.
Now all the tax collectors and sinners were coming near to listen to him. And the Pharisees and the scribes were grumbling and saying, "This fellow welcomes sinners and eats with them." So he told them this parable. There was a man who had 2 sons. The younger of them said to his father, "Father, give me a share of the property that will belong to me." So he divided his property between them. A few days later, the younger son gathered all he had and traveled to a distant country, and there he squandered his property in dissolute living. When he had spent everything, a severe famine took place throughout that country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to one of the citizens of that country, who sent him to his fields to feed the pigs. He would gladly have filled himself with the pods that the pigs were eating, and no one gave him anything. But when he came to himself, he said, "How many of my father's hired hands have bread enough and to spare, but here I am dying of hunger. I will get up and go to my father, and I will say to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Treat me like one of your hired hands.' So he set off and went to his father. But while he was still far off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion. He ran and put his arms around him and kissed him. Then the son said to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son.' But the father said to his slaves, 'Quickly, bring out a robe, the best one, and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet, and get the fatted calf and kill it, and let us eat and celebrate. For this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found.' And they began to celebrate. Now his elder son was in the field, and when he came and approached the house, he heard music and dancing. He called one of the slaves and asked what was going on. He replied, 'Your brother has come, and your father has killed the fatted calf, because he's got him back safe and sound.' Then he became angry and refused to go in. His father came out and began to plead with him. But he answered his father, 'Listen, for all these years I've been working like a slave for you, and I have never disobeyed your command. Yet you have never given me even a young goat, so that I might celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours came back, who has devoured your property with prostitutes, you killed the fatted calf for him.' Then the father said to him, 'Son, you are always with me, and all that is mine is yours. But we had to celebrate and rejoice, because this brother of yours was dead and has come to life. He was lost and has been found.'" The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Christ.
Please be seated. We call it Jesus' parable of the prodigal son. And some of us have read it or heard it preached for many years. We know what it's like to imagine that we are the younger brother who wastes his life and feels he has no home to return to, who, when he finally comes creeping home, finds unlooked-for grace in his father's welcome. We also know what it is like to imagine that we are the older son, the responsible one, who has always worked hard and never asked for much, only to find that his wasteful brother has come home and been rewarded by a big party and barbecue. We may even know what it is like to imagine that we are the father who has lost his younger son and rejoices with a full heart when that son finally returns home. But this morning I'd like to ask you a question. If you are a parent, have you ever felt like nothing more than a wallet? Yeah? Okay. you know well the question, can I have some money, a car, a new toy? Or if you're not a parent, have you ever received a solicitation phone call? The person on the other end has a script to read and is determined to get through it, because research has shown that reading that script will bring the greatest possible chance of fundraising success. Or maybe you don't answer phone calls anymore from phone numbers that you don't recognize. I think there are more and more of us like that. Well, it's only human to feel like money is scarce, to start feeling that way. Money is scarce, resources are limited. I don't feel like sharing, thank you. Even if I have sufficient means, they are finite. They will run out someday. I think this is key to understanding the parable of the prodigal son. Now you may say, but the sons are opposites. How can they have something in common? Well, the younger son has one overriding fantasy. He can't wait for the day when he will have all the money to do what he wants to do. And that day will come when his father dies and his estate is divided between his two sons. In the days of Moses, as set out in Deuteronomy 21, the firstborn son would inherit twice as much as anyone else. The younger son knows that under the law, he will not receive as much of the property as his older brother, but he still thinks about the portion that will be his. He thinks about it so much. We might imagine that he soon doesn't even see his father when he looks at him. Like a silly 1960s TV show. He sees his father, and then all he sees is a big fat wallet. It's as if his father is already dead. To his younger son, the generous love that he has received as a gift from the time that he was born only serves to remind him that he is not free. A gift is still a reflection of the giver. A gift ties the recipient to the giver. And if there's anything the younger son craves, it's that he wants to become what he's imagined himself to be for a long time, independent, with the money to do whatever he wants with no constraints, and owing no one anything. So he looks at his father, and, imagining him already dead, asks him for the final gift that he thinks will make him free, that he thinks will make him happy. And his father, perhaps mourning in his heart that his son prefers to see him as already dead, still gives the gift requested. The father's always done that. He won't enter into an argument with his boy. This is the gift. It has the potential to break their relationship entirely, but the father still gives it. It's the oldest story there is. It's the story of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. The Creator has given them everything except one little tree in the middle of the garden called the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And that one prohibition takes on a life of its own until that's all they see. They no longer see the gifts all around them. They no longer wish to be dependent on the gift of God. They see that relationship, a relationship of love, a relationship with limits, as if it were already dead. And so they eat, and according to the story, the world changes forever. And now what about the older son, you ask? How is he like his younger brother? Well, the text gives us clues about what's going on with him. He's in the field when his younger brother returns, and no one thinks to tell him what has happened. He approaches the house because he's done working for the day, or he wants to take a break, and he hears music and dancing. He has to get the news from a slave who is owned by his father, Your brother has come, and your father has killed the fatted calf, because he has got him back safe and sound. A double insult. No one thought to tell him, and the prized fatted calf has been killed for the celebration. And he didn't have an opportunity to vote no on that idea, or even to register a complaint. And all for the one he can't even recognize as his brother. That one is only his father's son. So he becomes angry and refuses to come in. He won't join that party. He will cut off his nose to spite his face. He has a point to make, and he sees no joy in the celebration. His attitude is, yes, but what about me? The older of the two, like his younger brother, has no joy in his life. His is a joyless existence. His internal monologue goes something like this. The purpose of life is to do my duty, to keep working no matter what, unlike my slacker brother. And in the near or distant future, my father will die and I will inherit what I have earned. The older brother also doesn't want to have to see his inheritance as a gift, because he will have earned it. Both brothers focus on the future. Both want, above all, to be independent of the giver. One wants to party without that pesky feeling of indebtedness, or even acknowledging that his good fortune is the result of a gift. After all, he only asks for what is already planned to come upon him when his father dies. Never mind that his father's death will already have taken place in his mind. And the other wants to keep working and working, because that's what life is, he thinks. And when he retires sometime in the future, he will have justified his joyless existence, his lack of ability to celebrate the small and important moments of life. He will say to himself, life is hard. Happiness must be earned, and I earned mine. Now I can be happy. The younger brother sees his father's property turned into liquid assets, trickle, and then gush through his fingers. And the older brother becomes more and more bitter and unforgiving. This parable of Jesus comes right after the parables of the lost sheep and the lost coin. So we're already prepared to focus on the person who is lost. But this parable is much more complex than the other two more simple allegories. Who was lost? Well, the obvious answer is the younger brother. He's become lost from his family, has lost his dignity, his money, and nearly his life. He's lost the joy of being the child of a generous father. He's lost the ability to enjoy his life in the here and now, without wastefulness, without letting money run through his fingers like water. But the other brother is lost too. He's lost any feeling of joy in his life. He's lost the ability to raise his head from a focus on his work, on the crops, on the ground, and truly see other people. He's lost his sense of appreciation. And maybe that word, appreciation, is key here. Because the father is also lost. He's not lost to himself, but to his sons. His sons no longer see him for who he is, a generous, loving father who gives and asks only gratitude, but not in a guilt-inducing kind of way. There's no implied control here that says, I'm happy to give at any time, but just you remember that I've given to you and be grateful. What the two brothers have in common is a tendency to see the what rather than the who. The property that will be inherited upon their father's death instead of the blessing that is the daily relationship with their Father. Can't you just see an ad in the classified section of the newspaper? Lost, a most important relationship. We'll trade a sense of entitlement. The relationship looks like blessing, joy in the present, gratitude to the giver of all things. Thing is, there's only one who answers an ad like that. The one who says, "But you are never lost. I am the reconciling one. I see you as you try to creep back home and run down the road to meet you and celebrate with you. I see you as your eyes are fixed only on yourself, as you compare yourself with others so that you feel inferior or superior to them, as you feel undeserving, or on the other hand, slighted. Welcome back home. Welcome back to my love. Welcome back to the joy of loving relationships with others. You are all my children. I am the giver."